Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and my pleasure to address you, even if only briefly, at this conference today, knowing that it is not usual such presence of a head of state, but very much wanting to stress the vital importance of a meeting between the Atlantic Alliance and the European Union on the current topic of cybersecurity, when we all celebrate the 17th anniversary of NATO. The Atlantic Alliance and the European Union, two bulwarks for safeguarding freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. In short, the values that guarantee the respect for dignity of the individual and human rights. Neither of these institutions can live without the other, because the transatlantic alliance relies on a permanent union between Europe and the United States of America and Canada. Without the Atlantic link, Europe's geopolitical and financial dimensions would be dramatically weakened, because it is not enough to dream of one's own self-sufficient structures. They must have the corresponding capacity in terms of intelligence, external influence, and no less than that, indispensable means of funding. The United States and Canada, without Europe, would also be geopolitically weakened, because Europe has a proximity, a specific knowledge, as well as old and new connections with its neighbors to the east, the Middle East, Africa, Asia, Latin America, the North and South Atlantic, which are by their nature irreplaceable. Most often at a time when there is a constant change, with signs of a continuous conversion from the monopolarism that succeeded the post-war bipolar world, with the growing multipolarism, with the former global, nowadays just regional power, wanting to expand its own space, with a virtual global power slowly and unmistakably emerging, all in the climate of a secular struggle over the long-term economic center of the world, a struggle between the East, with China, India, Japan, South Korea in particular, and the West, with the United States, Canada, and Europe. Will this center return to the East as it was until the Industrial Revolution, or will it remain in the West, as has been the case since then, first in Britain, then in the United States? In this context, a real and absent-minded Europe that allows its ties with the United States and Canada to weaken is committing a kind of suicide, as a United States or Canada that is tempted to call into question their links with Europe, with isolationism, protectionist policies, or short-sighted trade wars, is making a big mistake. Let's work together then in the field of cybersecurity too. And let's work on a long-term vision, because presidents, governments, parliamentary majorities move on, while the values that united us and people we serve, they remain. Talking about cybersecurity is talking, let's be clear about very current and obvious risks. In the balance of world powers, of course. Because the power in search of vital space to compensate the transition from global to regional, as well as the one emerging as both of them use the weapons of cyber security, or rather of the cyber insecurity of the others. And they use them to support openly or discreetly the political, social, or media players who can divide or weaken their competitors, not to say opponents. Now, as we have seen, we Europeans and our transatlantic allies, we have more than once not been quick enough to anticipate, to intervene as the need arises in electoral periods. Now is the moment to make up for the lost time that made us unable to prevent and respond in the last few years. On the other hand, the modern societies somehow take for granted that we will always have enough energy to sustain our lifestyle, and the technology will always be available to provide us with what we need. The essential question, however, is whether things will stay that way, since modern societies also became more digital, more networked, and more dependent of internet and cyberspace. What is happening in the cyberspace domain with the 4.0 revolution is challenging us with an unprecedented task. The cyber threats are too often unknown. Their methods are unpredictable, and the timing of attacks is equally uncertain. Without a common set of norms and without coordinated effort towards securing cyberspace, there is a real risk of an uncontrolled weaponization of cyberspace, and the consequences are hard to imagine. The key is a strong common commitment, never confusing long-lasting political and military allies with diffused economic partners. The key is also cooperation, education, and training. To do so, we must set up a cooperative cyber defense capability by a technologically skilled workforce, a cyber-savvy ecosystem, and an effective pipeline of future employees. We must explore synergies to enhance harmonization of cyber education and training among us. We must ensure that people who operate within the cyber domain possess a combination of technical skills, domain-specific knowledge, and social intelligence. We must maintain a stronger cyber education dimension to professionals and require continuing education to remain proficient. They, like the networks they operate, must also be reliable, trustworthy, and resilient. Portugal is at the forefront of the cybersecurity cooperation framework, leading different initiatives alongside NATO and European Union. For example, in cyber defense education training exercises, Portugal, as you know, will soon host the NATO Communications and Information Academy, and the NATO Cyber Training Center, which will provide certified courses to NATO allies and partner nations. To enhance cooperation between the main national stakeholders, the academia and industry, Portugal has established a cyber hub for universities and innovation, and also assumed responsibility for managing the future European centralized cyber defense training and exercises platform. This platform is expected to be able to support 3 different domains: European Union, national and multinational, and will take a central role in developing future cyber education and training initiatives. The benefit of cooperation and coordination between EU and NATO in order to increase cyber defense capabilities permits the pooling of resources through the creation of new tools, joint investment, and by provision of assistance using existing national tools. That's why this important event should continue to be an excellent opportunity to strengthen the ties between national and international cyber defense and cybersecurity communities. Today, you have concluded a laborious and very qualified journey initiated a few years ago, involving several working groups and the participation